Hey guys, Dustin here. I'm hanging out in Adam Jensen's apartment. We're still sulking over the terrible news that we've received of Cyberpunk 2077 being delayed yet again. So I thought that I would go ahead and compile a list of 10 Cyberpunk movies that you guys can watch to tide you over until the release of Cyberpunk 2077. I also tried to compile a list of movies that were somewhat unknown. I figure if you're into cyberpunk, you've probably already seen Blade Runner 2049, Akira, Ghost in the Shell. So I'm not going to recommend those. Although if you haven't seen those movies and you want to see cyberpunk, you should see those. Those are good movies. So to start off this list, I'm actually going to give you an honorable mention. So you get 11 in this video. The value is just, I mean, it's not that great, but number 11, honorable mention. Game Over, also known as Maximum Surge. I had no idea about that this movie existed until I saw the video on the Spoonie experiment. It's an excellent video. If I remember, I'll link it down below. This movie, directed by Jason Bourke, starring Yasmin Bleeth and Walter Koenig, although I use the word starring very loosely, and I'm sure that no one is putting this movie on their resume. This is a movie that so just the premise is we follow the world's most super elite hacker who also works at a video game company, and for some reason the internet police show up and they bring with them some scientists and a supercomputer named Drexel. And Drexel makes the Zero Cool of this universe, although he's nowhere near the level of Zero Cool, who is no one. That's fine. They bring Drexel in, and he has to play video games against Drexel and win for reasons. It's a dumb movie. It's a bad movie. So it's not going. The story's not why you're there. You're there because they do play video games against each other. Sega CD games against each other. This movie is about 60% Sega CD footage. The majority is an unreleased Sega CD game called Maximum Surge, which is why it's also known as that in some areas. But it also contains footage from Corpse Killer and that one football game that I can't remember the name of and probably should have written down but did not. That one boxing game. It's Tomcat Alley. Like, it's all Sega CD footage. This movie is available on eBay. If you look for it, you can find it. It's the one with the really crappy Matrix-looking rip-off cover with the lady on the cover that is not actually in the movie. Or you could just do yourself a favor and watch the Spoonie Experiment video, which is excellent. It's excellent. So go do that. Number 10 is Cypher from 2002. It is directed by Vincenzo Natali, who also directed Cube, and it stars Jeremy Northam and Lucy Liu. Jeremy Northam's character is recruited by his corporation that he works for to participate in some corporate espionage, and it goes from there, and it is very, I won't say it's trippy, it maintains a dreamlike atmosphere so that it keeps you kind of guessing as to what is reality, what is not. Is this guy crazy? What's happening? And then it wraps up really well in the end. Hey, no spoilers in this list. I'm not going to spoil anything. That way, if you guys want to go watch it, you'll see it. No spoilers. So yes, Cypher, really good movie. Go check it out. Number 9 is Black Road from 2016. It is directed by Gary Lundgren. It stars Andrew Wilson, Sam Daly, and the reason that I was really interested in this movie, Simon Templeman. So the premise is, it follows the main character is ex-Special Forces, and when he was in the Army, he got a cybernetic implant in his head where he could connect with a supercomputer that's kind of like a little cylinder, maybe like the size of a AA battery, and he literally just like Johnny Mnemonic style jacks it into the back of his head. So he is kind of out of work. He's going up into the Pacific Northwest after a good portion has seceded and become its own like nation state that is lawless. And there's a femme fatale, and he's trying to figure out who's telling the truth. And the antagonist is Simon Templeman. And a lot of people are saying, who is Simon Templeman, dude? And he is the guy who voiced Kane in the Legacy of Kane series. Fantastic voice actor. Really good actor. Considering the material he has. It's a low budget film, but they do a really good job of using the money they have. They realize that it's low budget, or they realize that their budget is small, so they don't try to make Blade Runner 2049. They do a really good job of using the money that they got. And as a little Easter egg, it's pretty cool. So at one point, Simon Templeman is actually using Deckard's pistol from Blade Runner. It's pretty cool. I highly recommend it. Black Road. Good stuff. Okay, so number 8 is a twofer. I'm going to give you 2. Oh, so you guys are getting 12. I'm so generous. 8 is Track Down, also known as Takedown, and I'm also recommending Freedom Downtime. Both from 2000? I think so, both from 2000, year 2000. So, Track Down is directed by Joe Chappelle. It stars Skeet Ulrich as Kevin Mitnick, and Russell Wong as... Hold on, let me look up his name so I can get it somewhat right. Tsutomu Shimomura. There we go. Tsutomu Shimomura. So this is based on Tsutomu Shimomura's book. I don't know how much it sticks to the book. It may be hyper Hollywoodized, but this is the story of Kevin Mitnick being Kevin Mitnick and being chased by the feds. Kevin Mitnick is a notorious hacker. People around the security scene kind of poke fun at Kevin Mitnick. I mean, I'll let you do the Googling and figure out. I don't have a dog in the fight. I just think it's a cool movie. But Kevin Mitnick is a real-life hacker. This is the story of the FBI chasing him. This is from Tsutomu's point of view based on his book, and it shines a very positive light on Tsutomu. He's basically Kevin Mitnick's arch nemesis, and he is like directly helping the FBI track him down. So I very, very seriously doubt this is objective and true. As I said earlier, it's probably hyper Hollywoodized to make it interesting. Now, as I said, I also recommend Freedom Downtime. This is available on YouTube for free, and it follows. It's a documentary based around the aftermath of Kevin Mitnick having been arrested, and how he's being treated in prison, and how he and his friends are kind of reacting to the movie, this actual Trackdown movie. So I think if you watch both, you can kind of get an idea of what the real scenario that happened in real life was all about. I'm sure, between the two movies, the truth is somewhere in the middle. Now, completely moving away from reality is number 7, Hardcore Henry, released in 2015. Directed by Ilya Nashuler. It stars Charlton Copley, Tim Roth, and Haley Bennett. So this is a completely first-person perspective movie from the perspective of Henry. Although it really stars Charlton Copley, because he is like the only character that is consistently in the movie that's not just part of a set piece. Which is great because Charlton Copley is awesome. He's awesome. But Henry wakes up in a lab, and he's an android, and Haley Bennett's like, "Yo, I'm your wife," and then some people kidnap him, and at that point, it's like, "Are you a bad enough dude to save your wife?" And first-person action happens, and all the action set pieces are awesome. Ilya Nashula also did, he directed a video for Biting Elbows, I think was the band. And it is the direct inspiration for this. Like, you'll see, it's very, like, it was basically the short film that was the prototype for Hardcore Henry. Also highly recommended. Number 6 is Elysium, 2013, directed by Neil Blomkamp, stars Matt Damon, Jodie Foster, and again, Charlton Copley. This is, let's see, Matt Damon is like, he is a blue-collar ex-con. He lives on Earth. Earth is overpopulated, and the environment has been devastated. This is like 100 years in the future. It's like 21 something. And some stuff happens, and Matt Damon has to get to Elysium, which is the floating colony in the sky where all the rich people live, and they have these little pods that will cure basically any sickness, any illness. And it's just him trying to get up to Elysium, and it's awesome. It's very, if you're familiar with like District 9, also an excellent movie. You're familiar with Neil Blomkamp's style. It is, so the first time I saw this, I got really distracted by Jodie Foster's accent. She puts on like a kind of an upper class snooty accent, and it was distracting the first time I saw it, but I knew it was coming when I rewatched it recently, a couple of weeks ago, and it was nowhere near as distracting as I remembered it being. So hopefully, if I warn you guys, you'll go into it expecting it, and it won't be as bad. Moving on to number 5 is Drive from 1997. Not the not Neil deGrasse Tyson. Nicholas Winding Refn. Yes, not the Nicholas Winding Refn Drive. Although I would totally watch a Neil deGrasse Tyson version of Drive. This is Drive, directed by Stephen Wang. It stars Mark Dacascos, Kadeem Hardison, and the late Brittany Murphy. So on the spectrum of cyberpunkness, which I'm just now developing, this is very much on the lower end of the spectrum. I guess it would be on this side for you guys. Lower end of the cyberpunk spectrum. It does involve corporate espionage and cybernetics. But this is a late 90s Cinemax movie, so it's low budget, but they do an excellent job of hiding their low budget, and so this movie, I'm in my late 30s. I've gone back to a lot of movies that I used to enjoy as a kid, and I find out that they are not great. This is one of those movies that I picked up on DVD, and I was like, man, I hope I just enjoy this as much as I used to. And I rewatched it, and I enjoyed it even more than I used to. I used to watch this all the time when I was a kid. This movie is really fun. I really like the chemistry between Kadeem Hardison and Mark Dacascos. Mark Dacascos, by the way, he is the bald guy from the bald ninja from John Wick 3. He's great. I'm a big fan of Mark Dacascos. But Mark Dacascos' character comes to the United States on a boat. He's trying to get to a corporation to help him out with some stuff. I'll leave it at that. I don't want to spoil it. Really good movie. I highly recommend it. I was really blown away by how much I enjoyed it. Good stuff. Watch it. Okay, up next is number 4, Nirvana, also released in 1997. This is directed by Gabriel Salvatores, and it stars Christopher Lambert. Do you guys say Lambert? I mean, he's from Belgium, right? I think he's from Belgium, so it's a Lambert. I grew up saying Christopher Lambert, but I mean, I grew up in North Carolina, so like Christopher Lambert. Anyway, I digress. Nirvana is about Christopher Lambert is a video game programmer. He makes a game called Nirvana, and one of the characters becomes sentient, and it goes from there. This movie is actually a Christmas movie. It's an Italian movie, so I've heard that the Italian version, which no surprise, is better. Although the dub is not bad. I have the DVD, which is the American version, so it has the dub, and it has a reworked soundtrack from what I hear. I'm not familiar with the Italian version. I've never seen it. But the American DVD version is still excellent. I highly recommend Nirvana. Go check it out. Number 3. It's a huge shame that this movie... Well, it's a shame that all these DVDs aren't on Blu-ray, because Blu-ray is just great. But Strange Days from 1995. Directed by the infinitely talented Catherine Bigelow. And it stars basically everybody. Like, I'm pretty sure I was in this movie at some point. Ralph Fiennes, Angela Bassett, Juliette Lewis, Tom Sizemore, Michael Wincott, Vincent D'Onofrio, and William Fichtner. William Fichtner and Michael Wincott are probably the two guys you don't recognize the names from. Michael Wincott is the guy with the voice. He's like the white version of Michael Clark Duncan. He was the bad guy in The Crow. He was the ship captain in Alien Resurrection. And William Fichtner is, he was in Heat. He played Van Zandt. He's like that guy you see, I think he was like Shredder in the reboot of TMNT. But that's all besides the point. Strange Days is about Ralph Fiennes' character, Lenny, who is basically a pusher of... There's a technology in Strange Days. This takes place in 1999, right before Y2K. And there's... a device. It's like a little squid thing that you put on your head, and when you put it on your head, it records everything. Think of like SimStim from Neuromancer. Anything you feel, anything you see, hear, taste, touch, smell, it records it. And when you put the thing on your head and play it back, you're watching a movie of someone's life. So Lenny is an ex-cop. He's pushing these discs at like bars. He's basically a kind of a scummy dealer. And he ends up getting wrapped up in some shenanigans that have far-reaching political ramifications, and things go from there. It takes place in LA, 1999. It's kind of hard to come by, Strange Days, but it's excellent. It is a great, great movie. It sucks that it's not easy to come by. Up next, number 2, Dredd. I think... this is probably one of the, oh yeah, of course. This is the most obvious pick on my list. Dredd, it is, who directed this? Pete Travis. Directed by Pete Travis, stars Carl Urban, Olivia Thirlby, and Lena Headey. It's Judge Dredd, but done really well. I'll even throw in Judge Dredd from 93. My dad and I, we were at the beach one year for vacation, and we went and saw Judge Dredd in theaters. I don't regret it. I like that movie. Not because it's good, just because I have nostalgia for it. But Dredd. Judge Dredd has a new recruit played by Olivia Thirlby. She is completely new to the force. They end up going to a place called Peachtrees, which is one of the huge mega structures that are like hundreds of stories high. It's like an apartment building, but hundreds and thousands of people live there. And the bad guy is played by Lena Headey. She finds out that there are judges in her apartment building, and she shuts it down, and they have to get out. That's the story. It's basically The Raid, but in the Judge Dredd universe. Or is The Raid just Judge Dredd in the Philippines? Singapore? Where is that? That's a good movie. The Raid. Go watch The Raid, too. Not for cyberpunk stuff. It's an awesome movie. And last, number 1. Upgrade. Directed by Lee Winnell, starring Logan Marshall Green and Harrison Gilbertson, who is that weird guy that's in stuff. I can't remember. I see him and I'm like, oh, that guy. But I can't tell you anything else he was in. But Logan Marshall Green, I always kind of took him as the diet version of Tom Hardy. He's like Diet Tom Hardy. Until I saw him in The Invitation, which he was excellent in. And this movie. He is really talented. And this movie is really enjoyable. It is it feels very Paul Verhoeven 80s, over the top with the action. And if you've seen like RoboCop, you get an idea of what I'm talking about, right? So yes, Upgrade, highly recommended. Highly recommended. Go see Upgrade. And guys, that will do it. That is my 13, 14, I forget how many movies I ended up naming. Those are my Cyberpunk movies that you need to go see to tide yourself over until Cyberpunk 2077 comes out. I thank you guys so much for watching. Do me a favor. Please do me a favor. Give this video a like, because it tickles the fancy of the YouTube algorithm. And if you feel so inclined, subscribe. But if you think there's something I could do better, if you have some constructive criticism, I would much prefer that. Please put that in the comment section below. If you want to like it and subscribe, that's great. I'm not going to tell you not to. That's great. But if you comment, and I'm really, what I want the most is to get better at making videos and providing content. So if you could give me constructive criticism, that would be awesome. Other than that, I have a Twitch channel. I have a Twitter. I'll throw that down in the description box below. And until then, guys, I'll catch you on the flip side. Peace out.